COVID, vaccines, mask. I'm tired of it, to tell the truth. However, it is nice to hear from the other side and other people's opinions on the reasons why they choose not to, in quotation, conform to the regulations of the government. It is nice to hear other people's opinions on the reasons why they choose not to be vaccinated, why they choose to not wear a mask, why they choose not to be rapid tested, why they choose to go against these things. It's very interesting to listen to them and their point of view, because there might be a lot of people out there that are similar. This is the podcast for everybody, just to get another understanding or another side of the coin, like they say. It is refreshing to hear other people's opinions, and this is why we call it Real Talk.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm just an advocate for freedom of choice for everyone. I think it's really important, especially, I know you're in Canada, things are a little different there, but especially in the United States, a country that's founded on liberty and freedom. So when we have these things like these mandates that are coming in and they're encroaching more and more and more on our freedoms, that becomes very dangerous. And when you start to divide people and segregate people, and businesses won't allow you in unless you have your vaccine card, it harkens back to the day of the civil rights movement. Go to the back of the bus, this water fountain's for whites only, that type of mentality. Or even further back to the Holocaust. Jews, you have to wear the star. Jews can't do these types of businesses. They can only go here. So I think it just sets a very, very dangerous precedent, and really marginalizes, a certain group of people against another. So that's a big problem.
So saying all that, how are you yourself? Because again, you are pro-choice. We talked about this earlier. It's that I assume that you're not wearing a mask when you go out in public and into stores and so on and so forth. And again, not being vaccinated. How are you getting around with that? Are people supporting you? Are people against you? Are people hearing you out when you speak? Are you being banned from different stores, or are you going about as it like a normal day?
For the most part, for now, it's been pretty normal, even though I live in California. So most of the stores around here, they just have a sign that says, oh, please wear a mask if you're not fully vaccinated. I just go in without a mask because the right to breathe freely unobstructed is a God-given right. It's a human God-given right. And I do feel that if people are wearing their mask and they have their vaccine, they're protected. If they believe that their mask works, they should not be concerned with, my lack of one. And but for the most part, it's been pretty normal. They just voted down. So I was at the County Board of Supervisors meeting last Tuesday, and we were there for 14 hours. I finally got to speak at the very end. It was like probably about 9 p.m. when I got to speak. And they voted down the vaccine passport bill in our local community, thankfully, but it's going to be coming back up on the ballot probably in January. So these are things that we're going to have to fight against up until that point where they vote again. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but there are a lot of patriots rising up and resisting. So it's really great to see.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear that again, but it goes with your cause, and I guess how strong you are in your will, in a sense, to get your message out. And that's the biggest thing. Is it seems like you're portraying your message in a very constructive way and not going to the whole rioting way, because when you go into the rioting way and you have bricks in your hand and flamethrowers and so on and so forth, no one's going to really hear you on what you have to say. One thing that we mentioned as well, I know you have, I believe, a son, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes to school. What are his rules that you, or whether it's his rules or your rules that you portrayed on him while he's at school?
So his school district, which I have an interesting regarding that, but his school district does require masks indoors. outdoors, they don't have to wear them. He does not like wearing them. He says he feels like he can't breathe. He feels sick to his stomach sometimes with that on his face all day. And so that's something that I am really fighting hard against the school board and the superintendents of the district. We have a group here in San Diego called Let Them Breathe. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I'm a part of that movement. And last night, as a matter of fact, the school board had a meeting. And so we showed up there. There were probably about 50 of us, parents, children were there. My son was there. And we just were peacefully protesting outside the building. And we actually ended up getting inside the building very peacefully. We all just wanted to be a part of the public school board meeting. It was a public school and it was a public meeting, but they were trying to not allow us in. And we just refused to leave. So we just stood in there. They then postponed the meeting, and we just, for about an hour, about 70 minutes, we were in there, and they postponed the meeting. Ended up being the board members left their seats without adjourning the meeting. So they actually called the police on us, and which was fine because we weren't doing anything wrong. And so we decided to have our own meeting. So we held a quorum. We elected new board members since they vacated their positions. And we have a new school board as of last night. So that is how we, the people, peacefully take things back. We take our power back. The police officers came in and asked us to leave, and we said we will leave as soon as we're done with our new school board meeting. And the officers were very gracious. They were very amazing, and they were like, okay, we respect that. So they just stood there, and the old school board members stood outside looking on as they have been fired. So, but then the media portrays it that we were violent and disruptive protesters, which was not the case at all. I have footage of interviewing the police officers where they will tell you that what actually occurred, which was we were very peaceful and respectful. So that was a very interesting evening last night.
Well, I think that's the issue, is the fact that the media is what's really putting that scare on people.
Yes.
Honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't think the COVID day-to-day numbers that we're seeing is actually true. And that's just me. I think personally, with the vaccine, they should have done more research. I think it was really a rush job to make sure that the economy doesn't crash and stay crash. And this is why we have the vaccine sooner rather than later on. Again, strictly just my personal opinion in regards to this. And this is why I chose not to take the vaccine as of yet. I plan on taking it, but later down the road. Because again, it's just the fact that we don't know the side effects of what it can do. I understand people are saying, yeah, we took the measles shot, we took this shot, we took that shot. I personally have never taken the flu shot ever in my life.
I haven't either.
Don't plan on doing it. In my personal opinion, if COVID is just another strain of the flu shot, then give me 2 flu shots. The truth. But it's just those things that bugs me in regards to it. The other part that bugs me, and I've mentioned it to my friends a couple of times, is the fact that I believe that there are cures for diseases and viruses out there, i.e. cancer, in which the reasons why they're not able or refuse to actually release the cure for it is because, again, cancer is not something that can spread among people through it's not an airborne disease. Therefore, it's not going to hurt the economy. Therefore, if it's not going to hurt the economy, why send out the cure for it? And those are the things that really bugs me in regards to this. I know a lot of people, when they see this and hear this, will be like, damn you, that is not right, and whatever. But in my personal opinion, it really is just that cancer's been around for so long. So much money has been poured into it for so long. It's literally a multi-business and that's the key word. It's a business. It's not even like a research place. It really is a business now. There's $1 billion invested in it, and yet we're unable to cure something like that. I understand the human body is very different and advanced, but hell, if we could put someone on the moon, if we're able to have electric cars and so on and so forth, I don't understand why we can't use that our knowledge and understanding to actually come up with the proper cure and a vaccine for cancer. Again, they claim that they got all the minds to come with a vaccine for COVID so fast. Hell, put that research into cancer instead. Something that would actually people would be happy about. I see people like Terry Fox that unfortunately he died on his trip to run across Canada. But you see those energy and the effect of someone that's willing to do that to show the greater cause of things. Again, with you showing that there's a greater cause to mandating and having a passport and forcing people to actually get the vaccine. I personally love the fact, like you mentioned, Canada's a little bit different. There's certain districts in Canada in which the government body of certain cities or regions actually decide, well, if you don't have the passport, then just do a negative testing, a rapid testing, which I'm totally for. Like, I'm totally fine with that. Do not inject something inside of me, but let me do the rapid testing. At least give me an option. And that's why I don't like that there's no option, that it's gearing towards that we're not going to have an option with either get the passport or nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a huge reason, speaking to, when you were talking about the cancer, that's a huge reason that I left Western medicine. For those of you who are tuning in, I've been a nurse for over 20 years and left my job in February because of all of this nonsense. And when you really look at the background of Western medicine, it would be very helpful if people would look up the Rockefellers and their tie to Western medicine, because it is completely a business. It is not about health. It is not about anything, natural, organic. It is all about making money. So they, you look at, even, this is kind of a tangent, but you look at all the commercials, all the billboards you see, it's all for fast food. It's all for just like garbage stuff that you're going to put in your body. And yet here, these people mandating that you have medical procedures done to yourself and your loved ones, that in the guise of health, they really are not caring about your health. Pfizer has made, I can't remember the figure, but a disgusting amount of money throughout this crisis. And they are going to be making more and more, because now they're developing a pill that they're saying you need to take twice a day if you do have COVID. So they're just, the people that are selling the cure are the ones also making you sick. They're just promoting unhealthy ways of living instead of, I have not heard anyone promoting healthy diet, exercise, vitamin D, basically everything that the government is telling us to do to save us from this virus is counterintuitive to immunity. Stay indoors. You need vitamin D for your immune system. Stay away from people. You need human connection for your immune system, not only for your mental health, but for your physical health. You need human connection. Over sanitize everything. That just kills your natural, bacteria in your body. So everything that is happening is completely not in the name of health. It is 100% in the name of control. And it's just not right what's happening. So it's very important that we come together and, resist these things that they're trying to shove down our throat, because never in history has the government taken away a little bit of your rights, a little bit more. Never in history have they ever given it back. Once they get it, they don't ever give it back. They just take more. So that's one thing that we really need to be cognizant of. And, they want us divided, right? They want the mask people to hate the anti-mask people, or they want the vax people to hate the anti-vax people. Divide and conquer, it's like old as time, divide and conquer. So what we need to do now is come together, because this is not a political issue anymore. It's freedom versus slavery, good versus evil. So the more we can come together, just united, regardless of who you voted for, if you want to get the jab or not, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, we need to stand in solidarity. So that's one thing, obviously, you can tell I'm super, super passionate about. And that's why I'm so vocal and so active within the community here. So
I love that. And one thing I've actually seen before recently was that we're so focused on getting rid of COVID that we forgot the biggest thing of why we went into all this was to flatten the curve. And once, I think, if we focus more on flattening the curve, actually on containing the situation, containing COVID itself. Understanding that, okay, if you do, again, I understand with the what you mentioned with the over sanitizing, but at the end of the day, I think what we lacked in all honesty is that we lacked those things of hand wash. I think those are the things that really that's catching up on us. Because I remember when we went through this when SARS happened, it was the fact that, hey, we lacked those personal hygienes. Less people started bathing so often, those brushing of the teeth, wash your hands with soap and water. Those basic things is what truly is what's triggering us to go into a place that we shouldn't have gone into. We start to become very lazy, and it shows in us being human. We're so used to, I guess, having that steady flow and being we're so much in our comfort zone of having, like, again, a splash of water, then we're good with our hands. But then when we get sick, you're like, oh yes, I remember to wash my hands for 20-30 seconds and use soap and so on and so forth, because if you do that, you're going to be cured properly. And as you mentioned, vitamin D, it's those things you're like, oh yeah, I know that if I have that vitamin D, as in outside in the sunlight. And again, it's those health things, going for your regular exercise, you don't have to like exercise vigorously. It's those, let me go outside, let me go for a walk, let me have that fresh air breathing in. Those things is what takes care of us. You mentioned also fast food, and I agree with you on that one as well, because you see fast food, you get McDonald's, it's like $5 for like a massive meal. But if you want like a lettuce, it's like $10. The things that are supposed to be healthy for you cost you more. Yes, I fully understand that farmers and need to get paid and so on and so forth, which is totally fine. I understand that. But there should be a cost which associates the need for it. If the need, as you mentioned, the need, and as we all know, like the biggest thing for us, we want to live longer, but not longer, but more healthier. It doesn't make sense to live long and be riddled with diseases, and you can barely leave a hospital bed. You want to be very healthy. And if the things that are causing you not to be healthy, as in a lot of processed meat and processed fast food that is really processed, and food that really kills the immune system, that really goes against your nutrition, and that's the biggest thing. And you eat that every single day, not looking at having your vitamins, not looking at eating your greens that are, or either, I understand, like, if it's not organically made, there's some pesticide in it, but at least you're having your greens. But the thing is, you go to the grocery store and you want to buy, again, a head of lettuce, it's like $10. Not saying it's $10.
What
Hope
grocery
it's
store are you shopping
$10.
at?
Exactly. Hope it's not $10, but it's those things, like it's you just get, it's very interesting how the world is. And it really is for business. Our world is they always say money is what makes the world go around, and it's very true. But we have to get away from that mindset and realize that we have to really focus on what's good, one, for the environment, two, what's good for the human body and soul, and that is eating well, and that is recycling, that is planting those trees, that is doing those things to sustain life on Earth. Because this is the only life we have, and unfortunately we are slowly throwing it away. And unfortunately, to say this, I think the robots are going to win one day. So that's
don't get me started on the
story.
robot, because then, okay, so the vaccine is not really a vaccine, it's mRNA gene therapy. So, and there is nanotechnology within that. That could be a whole nother podcast. But really, transhumanism is something that we're going to see a lot more of, and we are starting to see now. And if you look up, there's an interesting article about graphene, which is one of the ingredients within the vaccine, and how it relates to transhumanism and things like that. It's very interesting.
Are you for or against rapid testing?
I don't think it is necessary. I mean, it's just kind of funny to me that the deadliest virus in history, you have to be tested to even know if you have it. It's like, and the whole asymptomatic spread, that's not even a thing. So, I mean, I have heard rumor of the school district mandating that if you don't have the jab, that you have to be tested weekly. And I can promise you, as soon as they start, if they enact that, my son will be removed from school. Again, it is a medical procedure. They have to stick that thing up into your freaking brain practically. Like, I've never had the test done, nor will I get it done. And had I stayed at my job, I would have been fired, because I wouldn't have gotten the vaccine or gotten tested weekly. So I think it's just ridiculous to ask of people to just be subjected to medical procedures that they don't need or want. I mean, and then harkening back, you can go back to the Nuremberg trials, you know, all of these things that they were doing to the Jews, all these medical experiments that were done without informed consent, which is what's exactly happening now. I've spoken to so many people who have had it, and I don't even like to say it. And I'm like, do you know, like, did they tell you what's in it? And they're like, well, they gave me the sheet, the fact sheet. And I'm like, that's not the insert, right? So you have these people that are just lining up in droves to get this injected into their body, and they don't even know what the hell is in this thing. They're not being given informed consent. I did a little experiment, and I actually went around to a bunch of the local pharmacies in town that were offering the shot, and I asked for an insert, and they handed me the fact sheet, and I said, no, the insert that came in the vial, like, I've been a nurse, you know, immunizations need to come, like, it comes with the fact sheet, but the ingredients list, rather, the insert. They could not produce that for me. I went to 4 different pharmacies, and I also called different pharmacies. Not one of them could give me the ingredients list. So you have these doctors and these nurses who are injecting people. They don't even know what they're injecting these people with. And that's a huge, huge problem. As a nurse, I can tell you, if I were to give a patient a medication on the floor that I didn't know what it was, I would be fired immediately. Like, you can't do that to people. So these doctors and nurses who are injecting people with this vaccine, that they are not telling the patients what is in it, they're not giving them informed consent, they're going to be having to answer for this later. I don't know the time frame, but they are violating the Nuremberg Code. So they're going to have to answer to that and be put on trial later. So it's just, I just don't think anyone should be forced or coerced, which is what is happening. You know, here, give you a free cheeseburger if you get it, you know, oh, you can keep your job if you get it. Like, no, you know, rights are not gifts from the government. We are born with these rights. So for them to, like, dangle it in front of us like some carrot, like, oh, you can, if you get this and be a good girl, like, you can have your job, like, it's just completely immoral for one, and it's unconstitutional for another. So I am completely against, you know, forced testing, forced vaccination, 100%.
Okay. So here's a question. I want to put you on the spot.
Ready.
There's something called a give and take. Are you willing to give and take during this situation?
What's the situation?
COVID, the whole vaccine.
Give and take in what sense?
As a sense that, okay, you will not be given the vaccine. You don't have to produce a passport. However, you have to do X to be okay. Okay. That's why I was like, again, that's why I said, like, with me, it's okay, I don't mind not getting the vaccine, but I'd rather do the rapid testing. As you mentioned, I know there's 2 types of rapid testing. I know there's one either through the nose, or they could do the swab. Mm-hmm. And with us, we have either choice on
right.
So that's why I'm okay with the rapid testing in that sense.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, that's a personal choice too, as well. Yeah, again, freedom of choice, right?
Exactly. That's pretty cool.
That's what this is all about.
So you mentioned all this stuff, and in fact that you left the medical industry in February. Was it because of COVID? Like, let's say if COVID never happened, would you still have your job? Would you still be at work now, or?
So I think, had COVID never happened, I would most likely still be at my job. Mm-hmm. What happened I know for a lot of people, this is the case during COVID. A lot of people got awakened to a lot of the things that are really going on in the world, the motives behind a lot of things that are happening and who's governing us. So I think a lot of people really started waking up. I woke up about 20 years ago after 9/11, which the anniversary is tomorrow. But I really, really woke up when COVID happened. And I realized, hey, Western medicine is not looking out for my best interest or the people's best interest. And then, they started doing the rules at my work, like, oh, you have to wear a mask. And at first I was like, all right, fine. Like, this will be over soon kind of thing. So I was like going along with it, but then it just kept going and going. And I started, researching and digging, and I started kind of getting a little outspoken at work, and I got in trouble several times. And then it just came down to, I was like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to do it. And I called I took some time off, and just coming back, I couldn't go back. Just the things that I, looked into in my time off, and I was just doing some soul searching, and I called my boss and I was like, I'm not coming back. And I think she saw the writing on the wall with that happening. But yeah, I just, like I said, had COVID not happened, I wouldn't have had like this light bulb moment come on for me. So I would probably still be there, but obviously we know that isn't the case. So
So have you looked at more traditional, I guess, because you mentioned Western medicine, so I guess Eastern medicine, in which they do more of a natural way of healing the body?
Yeah. So I actually am just recovering from what I'm assuming to be COVID, actually. And I don't know if that's what it was, because I'm not going to get tested. But, and just really vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, essential oils, lots of resting, going outside, getting air. So, I mean, there are these ways of healing that have been around for literally thousands and thousands of years. But because they don't make money, those are not the things that get perpetuated. So, I used to suffer from migraines very, very severely. I saw an acupuncturist, and I have not had a migraine since. There was one year where I got strep throat like 6 times in 1 year. Saw my acupuncturist. She gave me some herbs as well, and I have, knock on wood, not had it since. She just really kind of rewired my immune system. But there are so many alternative ways of healing that do not involve experimental vaccines and pharmaceutical, big pharma medications. I mean, that have been around just for eons, centuries, that work very, very well. So
I that's one thing I agree with you on that one. And as you mentioned in our previous podcast before, we're so fast for a quick fix that we do not know the results of those quick fixes. I remember mentioning, I guess, like headaches. We're so fast to running for Tylenol, but really, you get the Tylenol. Yes, it could give you the quick relief from a headache, but what was it really causing on the back end of things? Were something like, you know what, maybe I'm getting a headache because I'm staring at the TV for too long.
right.
Maybe those things,
hydrated, or just anything.
Exactly. It's those things that we have to kind of look down and really dig deep on, really finding the root cause of it, instead of running and finding the cure for it. And I think once we get around that aspect of diseases, viruses, migraines, headaches, and like you mentioned, and looking towards more natural ways, because in honesty, I do like the Eastern medicine techniques, as in the acupunctures. I believe that those things can release a lot of toxins within our bodies. Getting those things like a chiropractor or massage, not really massage, but more of a chiropractor. We always need to have an alignment within our body. So doing things like that helps out, because
my chiropractor is best friend.
Because over the years, like, again, when we're born, our body's like kind of straight. It's pretty much straight. after the years of bending over and stuff like that, you see like your body start going like this. And then when you see the flow of your body acting up like this way, it prevents a lot of things, because now your body is not the way it's supposed to naturally be I guess, formed. That's why I believe like things like a chiropractor, things like an acupuncture, things I love doing is getting an ice bath. I love doing the ice bath because it really tenses up the muscles, but I feel relaxed. I feel comfortable. I feel doing those things. I'm a firm believer of like eating the garlic. I eat like garlic pegs and those things that will naturally detox the body. And instead of running to like getting pills and going on these detox boxes, but you like just take the stuff in the garden. And that's one thing I like about gardens, is the fact that when you start making your own garden, your own salad, you are nurturing and putting the right stuff into those things. Therefore, you don't have to worry about pesticide really in regards to those things. And I think that's where we have to look more into, I guess, back in our primitive days, i.e. caveman days and such, and see how they lived, because they lived fantastic. And if you look at their bones and how their structures are, they lived long, they lived strong. There's no such thing as, hey, there's no such thing like, hey, you got a cough. Yeah, no, there's no cough. I think back then it was nice. I think back then it was, people lived off the land. And that's why I think we need to do more of, is living off the land instead of living off prescriptions and living off medicine.
Yeah, we've gotten so far as a collective in the world we've gotten so far from nature, from the earth, from what we came from, that's why we're having all these problems. You know, we don't view our body as like this perfect machine, right? We're just like, we look outward to fix what we can already heal within ourselves. When you treat your body the way that you would treat a Lamborghini or something, you know, you need to treat your body with utmost respect, because I mean, we were perfectly made. I mean, the human body is amazing. So when you're eating the right foods, when you are taking care of your stress levels in healthy ways, when you have healthy relationships, it's not only what you feed yourself physically with food, it's what you feed yourself. What are you watching during the day? Are you watching fear porn on the news all day? Like, what are you listening to on the radio? Like, you're ingesting things. So when you really have good boundaries about, I haven't watched the news, like the mainstream news, in probably 5 years, and I've never felt better. I get my news from other sources, and of course, social media, you'll see things if they're important or pertinent, they pop up. But when you really care for your body and your spirit, you don't need to look to pharmaceuticals and all kinds of external factors, because you can just heal yourself and take good care of yourself. So
I love what you mentioned, because I'm a firm believer of that as well, because it's the fact that I hate the news, because it's very manipulative. It's very it doesn't really tell the true story. They just show you what they want, just to make ratings. And that's the issue that I have with it. And that's why, like yourself, I don't really watch the news. The problem I also have with social media is that, to be honest with you, like 20 years ago, there was no such thing as, no one was really glued to their phones 20 years ago. You lived the way in a very happy way. You like, and I say this, like, mental health back then wasn't as high as it is now, in my personal opinion, because you didn't have people going on to Twitter and Facebook and social media and typing things off, where you have a gazillion people now that you say hi to somebody or good morning, and people throw negativity in there in that way. And now you don't want to go that way and try and be a cheerful person. You're just like, well, what's the point of doing it? And those things is what's causing a lot of stress and depression, I think, on a lot of people. Again, with the whole vaccine and COVID that's happening, staying indoors, those things is causing people to go through their mental health even worse. I remember back in the day, hey, if you fell down a hill and scratched up yourself, hell, you threw some spit and some mud and you're ready to go. Now everyone's running to the emergency for a little scratch, and the doctor's like, okay, take these antibiotics, you need a tetanus shot, you need give me like 3 needles, here's 5 band-aids, and you take 10 days off of work and you're good to go. No, back then you go to work or go to school with a bleeding knee and you'll just walk it off, and that's how it was back then. And back then wasn't 50s, 60s. No, this was like in the 90s. I don't know what changed. Something happened, and I always say something shifted between like the 1998 and like 2000 and 2001. Something shifted in the world, and we just became like really, really like shitty people.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I have this conversation with my boyfriend, because I'm 41, so I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we're like, dude, I think we, like, children of the 80s are like the last like tough generation that there is. You know, I mean, for Christ's sake, like, we had metal slides on the playground in the heat of summer, so you go down that shit and you get like 3rd-degree burns. And now, like, you're like, they're wrapping their kids in bubble wrap practically. It's like, I don't understand. I mean, it's bizarre to me. I agree with you. There was a shift, and I don't know exactly what happened or what precipitated it, but yeah, people are not tough anymore. I don't know.
It's not. And it's funny because, like, again, I was talking to my friend about that. It shows like it's the same topics, but like, you look at the cars that are built in like the 80s and 90s, they lasted like 700,000 kilometers on the damn thing, i.e. miles as well. Now you buy a car, it's good for like 3 years. Like, it's so shit. There's no, we turn so much to robotics, and I think that might be another issue, that we forget that the humans back then, or like you mentioned, the 80s breed of people, those people that are born in the 80s and earlier, really were that really were, I think, the foundation of this world. And the people in the 90s, and no offense to the 90s kids, because I know some cool people, but if the 90s and above do not learn from the 80s and take those initiatives like the kids in the 80s and earlier, this world is doomed.
Yeah, I'm adamant about teaching my son, like, you know, the ways like when we grew up, because it's important. And I think, no, I know large in part is, again, the media is largely to blame. I have a bumper sticker and a t-shirt that says defund the media. Like, let's not defund the police, let's defund the media. Because when you really think about it, I mean, the media has contributed to like the dumbing down of our society, to where we, not necessarily you and I, definitely not you and I, but like the majority of people have become so dependent on either the government or looking for someone to save them. And that's why they've become just like these weakened beings. And we've been programmed through the years to become that way. And when you look at the word programming, like TV, right? What program are you going to watch? What programming is on today? I mean, if they're telling you right to your face, like, we're idiots, like, we're programming you, like, they're programming everyone. So, you know, for whatever the agenda, and again, that could be a whole other podcast. But, you know, television, like, you're telling a story, you're programming. So, you know, the types of shows that are on, the types of commercials are on, they're really, I don't like to use the word brainwashing, but hypnotizing. They're hypnotizing people, you know. So, and it's so subtle over the years. I think largely that has contributed to what we're experiencing is kind of like the downfall of our society. And we're just becoming these just weak little sheep that, government, save me, government. That's why people are like looking to the jab, like, oh my gosh, please save me. Yes, the vaccine can save us. No, it can't. Like, you have to save yourself. Like, unplug from the matrix. Like,
but I like how
kill
you
your television.
I love how you said that, and truly we are. And again, it's not going against the '90s and people that are born later. It really is the Matrix in a sense. It's we have to unplug from it and
Matrix
understand
is a
what
documentary.
it's one of my favorite movies, and I love it because it tells the truth in a sense. And I remember watching Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, and Elon Musk literally said, "Hey, I don't go on social media." It's very true. It's the fact that when you think about it, it's you if you Google, let's say you want to search up what is the best jeans to wear, and they look at on a separate website and you're not even home. As soon as you open up social media, you see ads and ads of different jeans. It's you say you don't want to say call the word hypnotize. Sorry, you don't want to use the word brainwash. Hell, I'm going to I'll use it then. It really is a brainwash. We're being brainwashed to buy, and we're brainwashed to need something quicker. I always see it. There's three things that we could choose: either quality, how fast we want it, and how much we're going to spend on it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we get shitty quality for cheaper money, and you need it faster, i.e. you get things like Amazon. It's those Amazon, I think it's great in a sense if you want something, you need something right there and then to help you. However, it reduces the interaction of you going outside and going to the mall and interacting with people. That's the one thing with Amazon or things like online shopping. And those things, I guess, it needs to cut back, because Amazon in the beginning was, oh yeah, we'll get it to you in a couple of weeks. Now you see it's the next day. Now it shows that, hey, why want to leave the house and go outside and go to the mall? I get something right now and then. Let me just go on Amazon and just get it tomorrow, or even sometimes the same day delivery. Those things are injected in society. Therefore, we are become more inside the house. We could now spend more money on social media, use the internet, and look up this and that. We're looking at more of a modernized yet computer generated, like you mentioned that word, programmed society, versus a society or civilization, I should say, in which we're supposed to be interacting with one another, interacting with nature itself. I believe that we used to go outside and go on hikes and go on nature trails and sit back and love nature itself and take in and meditate. We got away from all that. Now we could go on YouTube and throw up a fireplace and say we're great. It's those small things that we're missing out on life.
We're essentially becoming robots. Essentially, we're becoming robots and slaves to the government, when the government is supposed to work for us, but it's kind of feeling like the other way around right now. So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. It's called They Live. We just watched it the other night. It's very cheesy, from the 80s. I think it was like 1988. But so the lead character, I don't remember how he comes across it. He's homeless. He's like wandering, and these people make these sunglasses, and he's like, they hide them in this box, and then he finds it and he puts them on, and he goes walking down the street and he sees all the billboards, that are like, oh, here's like cigarettes or whatever. But when he puts sunglasses on, all he sees are the words like obey, consume, like don't think, like obey the government, like just all. So he essentially, when he puts those on, he wakes up to how the world really has been created. And that, like The Matrix, I feel is also a documentary, albeit a very cheesy 80s one. But so yeah, it's crazy when you wake up to what's really going on. Like you can't unsee things anymore. I can't even watch a movie hardly anymore without seeing, oh my gosh, did you notice this? Did you notice this? Like they're programming, right? It's like, and a lot of the movies and shows that are out there, they're using like predictive programming. So I think there was an episode of, I don't know, some medical show. It wasn't Grey's Anatomy. It was something like that. A year or so ago, before coronavirus, and they were talking about, like, they were like wearing the masks and all this stuff. So it's like they're they knew that this was coming. So they're like predictive programming everyone to like accept it essentially. So it's, once people turn off their television and like turn on their critical thinking, it opens up a whole new world. Sometimes I wish I wasn't awake, but I can't go back to sleep now. So
I think that's the most hardest part, is once you are aware of something, it's you can't stop seeing it. And to your point, and what you're doing and advocating for is, now I see it, I want to bring awareness of it, and let me see who else will listen to me. Because it's hard to be in your position if you're the only person that feels that way and advocates that way. So any last comments or things that you want to like say?
No, I just appreciated, you having me on here to, openly talk about this, because I think it's a very important issue. And, they would like us to feel like we are the minority, the people that are, fighting for freedom and, being patriots out there for what's really right. But and they think they're dividing us, but really we're growing in number every day, and they're bringing us closer together. So it's just really important that we continue to stand firm and not waver in our beliefs, and not waver in the fight, because it's going to get a little crunchy, I feel. And then over the next like 6 to 12 months, I think it's going to get pretty crunchy. I would be lying if I said I was not a little bit scared of what could be unfolding here. But I will never back down from, what I stand for, because I would be doing my son a huge disservice if I left him a world that was like communist, or even worse, like Holocaust situation. So I can't sleep at night, like if I don't keep fighting. So
that's awesome. Hillary, it's been fantastic. Keep up the fight. There's a lot of people that are with you. As I mentioned, I'm not really with you, but I'm not really against you. I'm here. I'm going to tell you the truth, and you already know this, and we talked about this before. I'm neutral about this situation, and it's nice to hear both sides of the story, because I believe that from this, a lot of people are going to be awakened from the matrix. A lot of people will start to see and understand what's going on in society, and I believe that a lot of people will start thinking differently. So Hillary, it's been a treat like always, and I know for sure we'll be talking.
sounds good. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much.